So welcome to this quick tutorial on this guide for BloxStrike, and I'm going to show you guys how to actually use this game as a beginner so you can get a lot better at the game. So one of the first things you want to do is click play. So when you click play, it's actually going to show you two different games. What you don't want to make the mistake, because I've made this mistake before, is you want to make sure you go ahead and you click spectate. The reason you want to do this is because you want to see for cheaters. Unfortunately, this is a good game, but there are a lot of videos out there that showcase cheaters and people that are basically just wall hacking and looking through walls. So I would, for the first round, look around and see if people are wall hacking and if people are just, locking onto people through walls, and see what the KDs are. If their kill to death ratio is just crazily high and they're looking around walls and they're able to see through things and they're able to just see everyone, then it's quite likely that there is a cheater in the game. The reason I've said to do this, especially if you're a beginner, is because you don't want to get into a game and you're going to have a completely terrible experience if there are cheaters. So for me, I can see that the guy with the highest KD is called Jacob. So ideally what you want to do is you want to spectate them just to see if they're cheating. And trust me guys, there are various different, scripts and different cheats online that you don't want to be a part of. So it's best to just spectate and just keep clicking through. And then I'm going to see until Jacob, so I can see Jacob up here. So I'm going to just quickly check if this guy is actually cheating or not. And if the top guy on the team is actually just having good map positioning, then I can actually enter that game and play. I know this might seem like an extra step, but this game is currently at the moment infested with cheaters. Now, as well, if you do want to be able to spectate as well before you enter any of the games, you also can, hit the space button, and then you're able to go around and see how people are. So if you want to use the space button, you're able to just, fly around and see. And then of course, if you want to have the next player, you can just use your mouse to do that. And so if you actually want to enter the game, just press M, then I'm going to go onto the counter-terrorist team. And then, I'm going to have to wait till next round. So you can see now I've actually joined the team, but I will once again have to spectate until it puts me onto their team. So I'm just going to, so you can see that there are two teams. Currently, I'm on the counter-terrorist team. You'll know by when you press M and you see this blue outfit. And the best weapon that you do want to get is an M41AS. But when you start in, you usually will have $1,000. So it's quite likely that you're going to be unable to do much in this game. I would say the best bet for your first round with $1,000 is to stay with your team and have your team gain the information for you. That means that you let your teammates go first and you let your team do the heavy lifting in terms of finding out where enemies are. Now, of course, a USP isn't that good, but it is still how you want to play the first round because you don't have a weapon that is able to defeat them that much. Now, ideally, what you can do is you can try your best to aim for the head. And I know that is much, much easier said than done, but I cannot overestimate how quick you die in this game. So in your first round, don't stress that much. You can see that our teammate there died. And that is, of course, how we were able to get a few shots off. Now, we weren't able to kill him, which is completely fine. But in your first round, you're not going to have enough. Now, of course, as a beginner, in your second round, press B if you don't realize, and this is where you want to grab the M4A1S. Now, it does depend on your complete playstyle, but since you're a beginner, you ideally just want to grab the M4A1S, and of course, once again, just go with your team. Let your teammates go first and make sure you're going up with your team, okay? And of course, sometimes you'll see teammates that break through these barriers, and of course, you'll also be able to see when the enemy fires on the map. So we can see that our information was just gathered there by a teammate. So what I'm going to do now is, since I don't want to be right there, and since they're using snipers over there, I want to just, flank around and go with my team this way, because snipers are in the game. And if you do get hit with a sniper, it is a one shot. So I think I can see someone in the back over there. And I did manage to get them. So me and my teammate, oh, wow, there was also a guy there. And the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that another thing you have to do as a beginner is you have to check angles and corners. I'm not sure how to do this, but if you can increase your resolution, that's going to help you tremendously, because enemies are often taking long lines of sight. And what that means is that people are looking at really, really far into the distance to be able to see you. So where I killed that guy, you might have not even been able to see it on my screen, but I was able to get him. So once again, we're going to go with the M4A1S. And remember, guys, it's completely up to you and your play style. But as a beginner, you do want to be taking long lines of sight. That means not rushing around and running in, but just using long corridors to be able to hunt down your enemies. Because a slower play style is usually much more favored if you're a complete beginner. Now, as well, in the next round, I will show you guys how to play a bit more aggressively. It is completely up to you how you want to play. We can see our teammate just died there. So I'm going to just go ahead and get this guy. And you can see right there that, once again, using our teammates as sort of mini UAVs is going to be much more effective than running in by ourselves. Now, if you want to have a different playstyle, and I don't really like this playstyle because it is pretty aggressive and it's pretty hard and the weapons aren't that good, you can, for example, opt for something like a P90. Now, this playstyle means you're probably going to have to be the one rushing, and you probably should get a, flashbang or whatnot. But these are the kind of weapons that are essentially very rush heavy. So you can kind of rush in at your enemies and try and catch them off guard. So you can see right there, unfortunately, it didn't work. But the reason that you want to rush with, submachine guns or just hold tight corners is because submachine guns are very rapid firing. And those are the things that are able to fire, a numerous bullets in a large amount of seconds. And then you're able to get, off many different buttons. Now, of course, we're talking about gunplay and how to actually move around the map. One of the key things that you do want to make sure you do is, of course, playing the objective. So if you are wondering what the objective of the game actually is, the objective of this game is, of course, to plant the bomb and kill the terrorists. Of course, it's basically search and destroy, and each team has the ability to either defuse the bomb or plant the bomb. So for this team, the goal is to defuse the bomb and kill the terrorists before they plant it. But if you're on the other team, which are the terrorists, they are going to be wanting to plant the bomb, which is, of course, not good. So it depends on what team you're on. The terrorist team is going to be different. I will show you how to play that in a moment. But once again, you can see right here, I'm just going to go ahead and follow my teammate because I think it is the most useful. So sometimes some people do have snipers, and those are for extreme long lines of sight. And I wouldn't be peeking this because I don't have a sniper. And if I get one-shotted, it's going to be not good at all. So I'm just going to walk around here, see if I see anyone. And it is very, very quick. So you can see right there, the bomb has been planted. So another beginner tip as well that you see on the map is that in the top left, you'll be able to see, oh my God, my aim was just absolutely terrible there. Apologies. But in the top left, you'll be able to see gunfire and you'll be able to see any kind of, objective. So you don't have to remember where the bomb has been planted. You just have to know that it has been planted, and it will show you in the top left exactly where everything is. It'll show you where your teammates are. It'll show you where the shots are. And this is remarkably useful for getting information. So as well, if your teammates give call outs like head to B site, this is B. So you can see right here, on the map, it says B over here. So we know that we're going towards B if you ever get confused. And so this is the bomb site here that, I'm guessing we saw them in the last round rush to. So it's important that after a few rounds, you should try and gauge where the enemy is going to be based on their movements. So try and remember where they went. So in the previous round, we know that they planted B. They might once again go ahead and rush to A. So one thing as well that you want to do as a beginner is just stick with your team, because your team's going to gain valuable information. If he dies right here, I might be able to get the guy that kills him, and then we might be able to win the round. But if he dies and I'm on a different part of the map, that is going to be something that is not good. Now, another thing that you need to do as a beginner as well is you need to be able to crouch as much as possible, because you can see that as I'm jumping, my crosshairs move wider and wider. And that means that my bullets aren't going to hit while I'm jumping. But even as I'm walking, you can see the crosshairs are not that good. So what you want to do is crouch. And if you crouch, I don't even know how I died there, but if you crouch, you're going to have a lot more accuracy in terms of your weapon, because it reduces the bloom that you do have. So when you're in this game, you always want to be crouching. So since there's no one actually in this map, I'm just going to, walk around and show you guys what I mean. So you can see right here that the crosshairs are, pretty, standard. But if I crouch, they just stay where they are. Or if I stand still, and that's going to be something that helps you a lot. And the reason you also want to crouch is because it reduces the footsteps. So I'm going to, enable the audio and show you guys what it sounds like right now when you're walking, how loud that is. That is, pretty loud, and you're able to hear everyone. But if you're crouching, you don't actually get footsteps. So this is super, super useful if you're trying to be stealthy, and it keeps your crosshairs pretty stable. So of course, if you're moving while your crosshairs, it does move a little bit, but if you're stable, that is the best thing you want to do. So don't jump and run around and do all that crazy stuff. Of course, you might want to juke your opponents a little bit, but the main thing that you want to make sure you do is, of course, keep your target on the center. So when you're walking around, make sure that your crosshairs are actively in the distance where someone could be, because that is going to be, much more useful than just having your crosshairs aimed at the ground or aimed at the top part. So for me, that is what I found to be super, super useful. So you can see on the terrorist team as well, the bomb is basically randomly assigned to someone on the team. So depending on whether or not you have the bomb icon in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll be able to know whether or not the bomb is yours. And that guy threw a grenade, so I got to get out of there. And also as well, you want to make sure that you do reload. And it looks like the guy just literally killed both of them now. And you can see I was able to clean up the round. So one of the key things that you're able to do as well is you're able to pick up guns, and you're able to see people's camos. So if you really want to, you can pick up other people's guns, and it is fun to play with other people's guns as well. It doesn't always stay on your character, but it is something that you can do, if you do manage to kill someone. So it is, part of the, Counter-Strike thing. If you kill someone, you can pick up their gun and use it in the next round, but only do that if you genuinely want to use their thing. And understand as well, remember that I said in the beginning that you can, if you want, wallbang stuff as well. So if you are using this game to try and shoot through certain things, remember that wallbanging is a real thing, and that is going to be something that does happen. So if you're wondering, how did I die? how did I die in this game when it wasn't possible? Many different structures like boxes and cardboard. Those are things that you can easily and quickly shoot through. So it's important to understand that, you're not always as safe as you do think. Now, if we're getting onto, instead of rifles and gunplay, we get onto things like flashbangs. I'm going to show you guys how to use, each one of these. So I'm going to literally show you guys, what they all do. So let me just grab that. And then I'm going to just grab a standard AK-47. So what you can do is, let's say, for example, you want to use whatever you want. So let's say, for example, this looks like a flashbang. All I'm going to do is press the 4 button. Then I'm going to throw the flashbang. Then it just went into there. I think that was actually a decoy. And I don't know why I switched weapons there. That was actually pretty terrible. So as I was saying, all you need to do. So first, I do believe I've got either a smoke or a flashbang. So you just want to throw it. And you do have to be a bit careful with how you throw them because sometimes you can mess up a bit here. So of course, I'm going to once again just throw this thing again. And the trajectory isn't the best in terms of how it is. It is a bit like loopy. So I would say that you have to make sure that when you use them, you get used to the trajectory as well as possible. Now, another thing that you can do as well is you can just shoot and then listen to the gun sounds. So for example, when you're shooting, I know this is a super, super weird tip, but like when you hit someone, there are hit marker sounds. And so those sounds are super different than actual real sounds. So if you're shooting through something, it makes sense to sometimes try and see if you can hear that sound. That way you'll know, like, for example, if you throw a smoke and you hear sounds of like, I don't know, it's like a fleshy sound that you can hear. It's really weird. But if you hear that fleshy sound, you'll then know that, okay, I'm actually hitting someone here and there are enemies behind that smoke. Now, this doesn't always happen. It's very rare that it does happen. But you can see right there when I threw the smoke, I was shooting through it and I could actually hear that there were, individuals down there. So it's something that is super useful. Now, another thing that is super useful as well is, just looking at who is alive and who is dead. We can see that it is a 3 versus 1 at the moment. And one of our teammates just died. So this guy might be able to clutch up. But the point here is that when you see at the top how many people are alive and dead, it allows you to understand exactly how you should be playing the game in terms of pure strategy based. So for now, we know that there are, okay, he was over there. But for now, we know that there was, another guy still alive. So it's important to know that, like, okay, is there 1? Is there 2? Can he watch the bomb site? And this is just something that most people, additionally don't look at. Now, I don't claim to be supremely, amazing at this game or whatnot, but I just want to give you guys the beginner guide. So for example, the flashbang basically flashes enemies. The smoke basically smokes an area. Now, a grenade is going to explode upon impact and a Molotov is going to set things on fire. And a decoy grenade is going to just basically ruin the minimap. So for example, I think your best bet in terms of items that you actually want to get is probably the flashbang. And then of course, maybe a weapon or 2. Now, remember when throwing items, the items generally, they are a bit, I guess you could say, weird in the sense that they go a lot higher than they should. So if you're ever using items, just remember that they go a little bit higher. Okay, so that's how you want to use a flashbang. And so considering I flashed him and was able to get him down, that is of course more effective. But of course there was someone stuck in the wall. So of course, another thing as well that you want to do as a beginner is check your corners and just learn the maps, because a lot of times you'll see someone maybe hiding in corners or areas that you may have not thought they could have been. Now, if you do want to also change your settings, this is something that people talk about a lot. You can just go into your settings menu. So if I press N at any moment in time, what I can do is I can go to my settings, and this is where I can change the preset. So I can change all of these different things if I want to, make the game more effective, more different. And I would just, keep most of these settings. They're really good. Keep your FPS as high as possible. Keep your audio as high as possible in terms of like the sound effect volumes. And you can see here that you can change your crosshairs if you want it to be, classic. I know some people just have it as classic all the time, but the only problem with having it as classic, as you can see, is that it just, is a bit different. And I didn't save it in there. In fact, so you can, go into the settings and change yours to classic static. And classic static is basically completely, up to you. And basically some people use this because they just don't like having the fact that their bloom is there. I would say as a beginner, just keep it as classic. So you know exactly where your, keyboard is and where everything is. It's completely up to you. Of course, you can always reset it if you do want to. But I do find it to be, remarkably useful. So he's just thrown a Molotov there. And of course, you can see that basically means that we can't really walk through that area there. He's going to throw something else. You can see that there's quite a bit of a firefight going on here in terms of, what's going on right there. And then we had 2 people just completely push through there. So the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that another thing that you can have, of course, is shotguns. But shotguns are pretty much a miss in terms of, their use case, because shotguns are very, very hard to use in terms of the fact that there is just so much that can go wrong. And I'll show you guys what I mean by this right now. And the only problem that with shotguns is the fact that shotguns are very, very hard to use because they don't deal as much damage as they should, and you do need to be super, super close to be able to hit them. Whereas with other people that are in the game, they're often much, better at just aiming at the head, aiming at the body, and aiming that much damage. So it's completely up to you which weapon you choose, how you want to play the game. But hopefully this guide shows you how to get better as a beginner as the game. And if you do have any tips and tricks, of course, comment them down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.